Welcome to the Living Habitually platform, where we curate and explore the practices and principles of a life lived well. I'm your curator and host, Nicodemus Christopher. Say less. Anybody in the ecosystem of a professional athlete or a collegiate athlete, high school athlete, anybody in their ecosystem, there's some things that you have to be aware of. There's some things that you have to know. There's just some straight up do's and don'ts, right? So as there's multiple sports kicking up in the middle of their season, some coming to an end, some just beginning, some ramping up, let's go ahead and discuss some of these do's and don'ts. One of the first don'ts, right? Don't blow up a young man or young woman's phone with a million obvious texts after every single game. Do you think they can't read a stat sheet? You think they don't know that they had 5 turnovers? You think their coaches aren't reminding them that they had 5 turnovers? You think their teammates aren't holding them accountable to the fact that they had 5 turnovers or whatever it might be in a game? Like, do you really think it's necessary for you to blow them up and be Captain Obvious after every game, right? And sometimes what I've seen in the lives of professional athletes, collegiate athletes, high school athletes, the game has changed, so it starts at a young level. Like, you feel like your value to them is being the critic. Like, you want to call them and you call it tough love. You want to blow their phone up about every little mistake or everything that they did in each and every game. It's not necessary. They already know. And reality is, half the time, or 90% of the time, they don't want to talk to you. I don't care if you're brother, sister, mom, dad. Like, they don't want to hear from you after the game. Give them time to settle down and process. Right now, if you're sending them a word of encouragement, it's a little bit different. Right? Send them that word of encouragement. Keep it short, keep it clear, keep it concise. Let them know you love them and keep it moving. But you trying to be a coach and you trying to analyze the game when you're not in the locker room and you're not with them on the day-to-day, cut it out. Right? It's not necessary. What's another one? We're just gonna have fun. Whatever you use to attract them, you will have to use to stay attached to them. Whatever you use to attract them, you will have to use to stay attached to them. So if the value that you attract them with is a BBL, guess what you're going to have to do to stay attached to them? We get the point? Whatever you do to attract them, you will have to do to stay attached to them. So you have to know your value. You have to know what value it is that you are going to add to that friendship or that relationship. And that value can't be something that is superficial. And that value can't be something that you want to provide now and not be held to that standard later. Because if whatever value you bring into my life, that is the value that I consistently need you to provide. Are we having fun yet? All right. I think this one is specifically for parents. And I'm just going to speak in terms of my son. I have a 4-year-old son who's playing sports now. And I think some of the greatest advice that I got regarding coaching my son and being the father of a quote unquote young man who's playing sports or a young athlete is understanding that when he hears my voice, no other voice matters. Right? That's just the type of home that I was raised in. That's the type of home that he's being raised in. And if you know my son, you know that when he hears my voice, everything else is silence. So the same thing applies to the court or to the field or wherever you play your sport. When your child or your client or whatever your relationship is with them, when they hear your voice, no other voice matters. And if you're not saying the right thing or you're saying the wrong thing, now your voice has become a distraction to the game. Now you're taking away from what they're able and capable of doing in a game. So use your words wisely, right? And one of the things that I'm reminded of that, Coach Conzo Martin, right? He is an amazing storyteller, right? And he would share some of the stories of the things that he experienced when he was playing collegiately and playing professionally. And one of the stories that sticks out to me, I think it was Coach Martin's freshman year, and he tells the story, and he talks about how he was struggling on the court, right? Struggling to find his flow, struggling to do what he was highly touted to do in high school. But the thing that sticks out the most to me about that story is he said his mother would always say two things to him. Did you pray? And did you read your Bible? And that's it. She wasn't blowing up the coach. She wasn't blowing up the coaching staff. She wasn't blowing up the front office. She wasn't blowing up the GM. She wasn't blowing up this person. She wasn't blowing up that person because she understood the power of her voice. So you have to know when is the time to speak and when is the time to remain silent. Half the time, y'all are distractions. Stop being a distraction. Okay. Here's another. What's another one? What's another one? The next thing that comes to mind is, I think, an important insight for any young man or young woman that plays professional sports. You have to realize that every creation has an environment or an ecosystem that sustains its value, right? In the most simplistic form, fish has water, birds have air, trees and plants have soil. And if you take a fish out of water, you take a tree out of the soil, their value will not be sustained. And the environment or the ecosystem that you build around yourself is equally important to your success and to your survival. So you have to develop an ecosystem. You have to build an ecosystem around you that protects, preserves, sustains, and adds value. Well, how does an ecosystem or an environment do that? How do I build that ecosystem? Well, the first thing that you have to do in that ecosystem is you have to put things in place to help you discover who you are and anchor you to the truth of who you are. Not anchor you to the accolades, not anchor you to statistics, not anchor you to contracts. But you have to put something in place within your environment that helps you discover who you are and anchors you to the truth of who you are. The other thing that you have to do within that environment is you have to create an environment that helps you develop. Right? I know everybody wants deals. We want deals. We want deals early, and deals will come. And I'm not minimizing deals, but why do you want that deal before development? And why would you focus on development before discovery? Because you could be developing the wrong thing. There's this framework that we have for how we help our young clients develop. And I always say development before discovery is delusion. Demonstration before development is detrimental. So before I start to develop or help you develop, we need to discover who you are. And once we discover who you are, now we can develop that, right? We can develop you. And then as we develop you, you will be able to demonstrate the result of that development. So the way that we phrase it is discover your distinctive design, discover your distinctive design, develop yourself for destiny, and then demonstrate mastery. When you do all of that, you will dominate in your marketplace or in your industry. So how to? You have to build an ecosystem, create this ecosystem around you that anchors you to the discovery of who you are, to your character, to your true nature, not opinions, not statistics, not accolades. You have to develop yourself for destiny because destiny is where you end up if you become who you were created to become. Because when I become who I was created to become, I will do what I was created to do and I will have all of the value and all of the things that I was created to have. But it starts with becoming who I was created to become. Right. And then the last part of that is you have to demonstrate mastery. So you have to create an environment that allows you to deploy and distribute your unique talents to the marketplace, whatever that marketplace might be in, whether you're in sports or entertainment. Right. So I think that all of those steps are extremely important. So once I've gotten to the place to where I've developed this ecosystem that helps to protect, preserve, sustain, and add value to me within that ecosystem, then you'll create a marketplace because all business is the exchange of it's the intersection, of specialization and exchange. You have a specialization. Somebody else is willing to exchange something, usually in the form of money or capital, for the specialization that you have. The more your specialization solves a problem for them, the more they're willing to exchange their money and their time for that specialization that you have. So you have to develop that ecosystem. Other things that you have to look at within your ecosystem, every major organization knows this. There's frameworks that are literally built around this, right? You have to look at the work, right? What are the skills? What are the tasks necessary for me to be successful in the marketplace or the industry or the sector that I'm in? Who are the people in my ecosystem, right? What is the culture within my ecosystem? And if you look at that word culture, you look at the etymology of it, really what culture is, what creating culture is all about is putting in an environment or a medium for growth, right? So if I'm not putting things in place, moral codes, moral standards, habits, routines that lead to my growth, I have a terrible culture. So what's the work within my ecosystem? Who are the people within my ecosystem that are helping me achieve and carry out the work and helping me perform at a high level? What is the culture and what is the organizational structure? What are the systems and procedures that I have in place that also help me carry that out and perform at a high level? So I think you have to understand that those four key elements have to be present within every ecosystem, right? And as I mentioned, because I mentioned the people, I'm going to go straight to this next point. Just because we have a relationship doesn't mean I have to hire you. Just because we have a relationship doesn't that doesn't give you the right to think that you're entitled to me hiring you. Just because we have a relationship doesn't mean that the job is automatically yours as my managers, skill trainer, accountant, whatever it might be. Now, is relationship important? Yes, but is it everything? No. There's two things. Anybody that has a role in your ecosystem, there's two things that they have to have. And I tell my young guys this all the time: character and competence. When you have competence, it allows you to make good decisions. Competence is reproducibility. When someone has competence, they can reproduce results over and over and over. When they have character, they will sustain those results. They won't take away, they won't diminish, they won't hurt your performance. They will sustain your performance. So you have to have people with character and competence. Now, that's not to say that because you have a relationship, they will never work for you. If they're passionate about working for you and working with you, they will go take the time and gain the confidence or competence, gain the knowledge, gain the wisdom, gain the understanding necessary to add value to your life and to your ecosystem. But until they have shown you the fruit of character and the fruit of competence, they should not have a job in your ecosystem because they can't produce anything and they can't sustain whatever it is that you're producing. That's the hard reality of it. The other thing that I want each and every one of you to do, because we're on this people part of the framework, the people within your ecosystem, I want you to go back and I want you to assess the major decisions that you've had in your life. Let's call it for the last 5 years. I want you to write down the good decisions you made, and I want you to write down the bad decisions you made. And I want you, next to each of those decisions, good or bad, I want you to write the names of the people who were in your ear when you made those decisions. And let me know if whoever has your ear is influencing you in a way that leads to moving forward or moving backwards. It doesn't matter if you play professional sports, if you're in business, if you're in entertainment, if you're in ministry, if you're in finance, I don't care what industry you're in. These same principles apply to everybody. Go back and see who had your ear and go see what was the result of those decisions. We're going to end. Let's end this thing on a lighter note. Tickets. Yo, stop blowing them up for tickets nonstop. Go to TickPix, go to Ticketmaster, go to Vivid Seat, go to Game Time, and buy a ticket. Like, my goodness, I can't tell you how much my phone blows up over tickets. If you're not mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, son, or daughter, sometimes you might not have a ticket. Most of the times in the NBA, guys will get 4 tickets for home games, 2 tickets for road games. If I have a wife and I have 2 kids who are old enough to go to the game, that's 3 tickets going right there. If I'm a guy who has a team and my team lives where I live, there goes my tickets right there. Right? Like you want to blow them up. Y'all want to blow me up, blow my phone up. Y'all want to blow them up. Y'all want to blow my phone up every time you coming in town because I need 8 tickets. 8 tickets? Yo, can I get, everybody wants tickets to the season opener. As if their mom and dads aren't coming to the season opener. Everybody wants tickets to the playoff series when you playing the Lakers and LeBron James is in town. Everybody wants tickets to the NBA finals. Where were you when we were playing that 0-40 team? We had plenty of tickets for you that game. You didn't want to come. Right? Stop blowing them up for tickets, man. They get 4 at the crib and 2 on the road. Go to TickPix. Go to Ticketmaster. Go to Vivid Seats or Game Times. Hey, all y'all owe me endorsement money for that. If this content added any value to you, please share, like, subscribe. Appreciate you.